Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kasia, and as you guys can tell by the title of the video, today we're going to be talking about the time that I was denied from grad school. And when I say the time, it sounds like it was like a very long time ago, but it was actually pretty recent. It was on Valentine's Day. I mean, it's not like they really owe me an explanation on any other day, but why Valentine's Day? So essentially throughout this video, I'm going to try to go through a few different parts. So I'm going to start it off with my background. I'm going to go into the degree itself so you know exactly what the program looks like. I'm going to then head into exactly what steps I took when I found out that I was actually denied, and then some tips that I feel like will be useful regardless of if you were rejected from a job, rejected from a different type of program. I feel like these tips are beneficial as far as like being rejected in general. So let's get into it. All right, so starting off with my background, I actually earned my Bachelor of Science in Business Administration back in 2015. I earned my Master of Business Administration in 2018. So as you guys can tell, I have a background in business, and that's up until about halfway, a little bit more than halfway through grad school. That was what I was going to be doing. I actually wanted to work in human resources, and I was pretty set on that. I had the opportunity to work on campus, or I did a ton of different things on campus that helped me to see that higher education could possibly be a route for me, but I didn't actually head into that route until about 2 years ago. So now I'm going to go into the program. So the program itself was an EDD program. It's an EDD in educational leadership. So what that is it's a doctoral program, as you guys can tell, and the program is designed for those who want to lead in an educational environment. So of course that is something that I'm very passionate about. If you guys don't know, I'm passionate about underserved and underrepresented students, and that is ultimately, I feel like, what is my life's goal, exactly what I want to be doing as far as like a career. I want to be supporting underserved and underrepresented students. So I felt like going forward with trying to get a doctoral degree in educational leadership would be beneficial, not only just as far as like learning and just getting like the tips and the tricks that I will need to support these students as best as possible, but also so that way that I can do research that can help me to not only build a program that supports these students, because there's a ton of programs that support these students already, but I wanted to do research that can help support them before they get to the university, while they're in the university, and after. Because I think before and during are kind of sort of already taken care of, but the after part is my major focus. So like I said, I wanted to go forward with that program, and I felt like the EDD program would be best for me. So the requirements of this program were that you needed to, of course, submit your transcripts for each degree that you have earned. You needed to submit a statement of purpose, 3 recommendations, and you needed to submit your test scores as well. And you also, you also needed to have at least 3 years of experience in higher education or in your particular field. So for me, because I wanted to do the higher education concentration, of course I need to have 3 years of experience in higher education. And as you guys can tell from previously, I had 2 years. So spoiler alert, that was the reason I was denied. So the steps that I took when I found out that I was actually denied, first of all, I really tried to process exactly how I felt. So I was sad, then I don't think I was really upset for a long period of time, but I was definitely sad. And then I pulled in different people who I felt like would be able to support me. I pretty much reached out to my mom first, and I just told her how I felt, told her I was, sad and all those other things. Then I pulled in a few very, very close friends. It was like 2 or 3 people that I just let them know, like, hey, so I've heard back from the program. I actually was not admitted. And then the next thing that I did was I actually scheduled a meeting with the department chair. Now, I don't necessarily recommend this for different types of things. So there's different ways that this can work. I wouldn't necessarily go and reach out to the department chair of every school. So if you are applying to an undergraduate program, you might want to reach out to an admissions counselor. If you're applying for a graduate program, you might want to reach out to someone who just helps out with the program. I reached out to the department chair because me and her had already been communicating as far as like getting my documents into the application. So I felt like me emailing her wouldn't be weird, like it wouldn't be like the first time me and her have ever communicated. So I reached out to her that day, that exact same day, because I was just like, I need to know. So it wasn't necessarily just to get an idea of why I was denied. It was more so to get an idea of what next steps I needed to be taking within the next year in order to make sure that that my chances would increase as far as next year is concerned. So when I went into the meeting was, I believe it was about a week later. When I went into the meeting, I was so happy that I actually went through the process as far as submitting the application, because I had the opportunity to talk to her. Like, she was one of the nicest people. She was very helpful, and she also helped me to just understand that like, rejection is not a bad thing. Yes, it seems like a bad thing at first. She talked about how one of the things that she wished that she would have done would have been to, you know, like, she did schedule a meeting like I did, but she did not take the advice that was given to her. So she was like, you know, she's like, the major thing that I want you to know is that, you know, the reason why was because of experience. And then I forgot to also say that this program, they only admit 12 people per year. So little old me with 2 years of experience and just a huge heart and a huge passion for underserved and underrepresented students, is not to say that that wasn't enough, but in comparison to the other people who were applying to the program, I just was not competitive enough at that time. So like I said, it was beneficial to go in and to have that conversation with her, because she was just able to help me see that a no is just a no, not right now. It's like, it's not a horrible thing. Like, you don't want to take that and just quit. And I think one of the major things that I pulled away from that conversation is that if you have a huge heart and you have a huge passion for exactly what you're applying to or what you're going for, then that no should not be enough. That no shouldn't stop you from exactly what you're trying to do. So some of the tips that I pulled out of this entire process, these are things that I wished I would have done in the beginning. Some of the things I did do, but these are just tips that I feel like are helpful in general as far as like any application process. So whether you're applying to a job, applying to a college, or anything like that, I feel like these are just tips just to help you to better navigate that process. So the first tip that I have is to pay very close attention to deadlines. Now this one is pretty obvious, but some programs have what is called like an early action deadline, which essentially means that these are earlier deadlines for you to be able to try to apply to the program. And in some cases, the earlier that you apply, the better your chances are of being admitted. So the next thing that I would suggest is to make sure that you pay very close attention to requirements. So this is one of the things that kind of sort of, you know, hurt me, as you guys can tell, because like I said, I had 2 years of experience and they required 3. But what I did was I actually attended an open house. And at this open house, of course, that was the major question that I had. I asked about the GRE scores, but I wasn't as worried about that as I was the requirement as far as like having the 3 years. So when I attended the meeting, I just essentially asked, hey, like, I've worked in higher education before I graduated from college. Would that time be considered? Now, of course, when I go to the meeting, that's the first question that I ask, or the meeting after I've been denied, that's the first question I ask. I'm like, hey, so like when I attended the open house, he pretty much told me that, you know, the time that I had would be equivalent to, like, it would be able to be applied to that amount of experience, that bulk of experience. And she was like, it's more so for grad. So it would have been experience that I would have had to have earned as a graduate assistant versus being in undergrad. Now, there's a lot of ways to flip this. Like, I can say, oh, it's his fault for not explaining that part, or it can just be me for not asking that in-depth question. Like, I didn't ask, hey, does it need to be in an undergraduate level or a graduate level? I was just like, experience, period. Like, how are you guys accepting this? So it just needed to be on a graduate level versus as an undergraduate level. Which honestly, once she mentioned it and once she explained it, it made complete sense of why it needs to be on different levels. The next thing that I would suggest is to speak with as many people who are connected to the program as possible. This is something that is huge in my opinion, because it gives you the opportunity to be able to, one, get your name out there. It's not to say like, hey, oh, I remember this. I remember talking to this girl. Like, you know, it's not like anything like that as far as like getting picked over anybody else, but it definitely just helps to get your name out there, so that way that the people who are reviewing your application, because typically the people that you communicate with are the people who will be reviewing your application at some point. Sometimes they have, different programs have have it where like they have like an interest level. So if you're not, I'm not saying call 3,000 times to the school or wherever the case may be, but sometimes if you express some sort of interest, they take that as a good thing. Now for jobs, don't do this. Do not call human resources. Do not call that department. Don't do those types of things. But as far as for an application, reaching out and just expressing your interest or sending an email saying, hey, I'm really interested in this program, sometimes that can be beneficial. And the very last tip that I have is to make sure that you create like personal deadlines. So like I said, for the most part, all of these programs, all of these jobs, all of these things, like they have their own particular deadlines that are set in place. But my suggestion is to build a deadline that's well before, or gives you enough time before the actual deadline. So say for example, for this application, I need to submit a statement of purpose, recommendations, transcripts, GRE test scores, or GMAT test scores, depending on whatever your application is, and then the application itself. So I set particular deadlines in place to make sure that I would not be late on any of those things. So I started on my statement of purpose well before. I reached out to people who needed to submit recommendations for me, or who I requested recommendations for I requested those recommendations well before the application deadline. And it was just to make sure that there were no outside things that would necessarily affect my application completing on time. So in closing, I just wanted to take this opportunity to encourage you all and let you all know that there are a ton of opportunities that lie only within rejection. There's so many things that I have stepped into within the past 2 months, so many people that I've connected with within the past 2 months that I never would have connected with if it wouldn't have been for being denied from this program. So I just wanted to take this opportunity just to encourage you all and just let you all know that you have to be able to see the beauty that lies within rejection. Yes, initially be sad, embrace, your emotions, understand exactly why you feel the way you feel, but then take that as an opportunity to build, take that as an opportunity to grow, and take that as an opportunity to learn. There's things that we need to learn in every season of our lives. I was thinking about how if I would have been admitted, how happy I would have been, and how I would have wanted to share it with everybody. And I was like, why don't I feel that way with the rejection? Why is it that I don't want to go post on social media, hey, I was denied from this program? Like, why is it that I don't have those exact same feelings towards this? And I think it's because rejection just has such a negative connotation. But some of the most beautiful things happen within these dark times. Some of the most beautiful things happen within rejection. And I feel like God wants us to embrace those situations as well. We can't say that God is a God of the hills and valleys, but only embrace the hills. Like, that makes zero sense. That makes zero sense, honestly, as I think about it. I'm like, why is it that I only want to talk about the high points and disregard the low points? Or when I do talk about the low points, it's when I've earned the high point. No, no. I'm going to talk about it while I'm in it. I'm going to talk about it while it's something that is currently happening in my life, because I feel like God deserves that. So I just wanted to take this opportunity, like I said, to encourage you all. So if you are experiencing something similar, or if you are if you feel like you could end up in a situation like this, I just wanted to have this video just out there, whether you embrace it or enjoy it or not. I just feel like I said, there's a ton of opportunity in rejection, and we need to learn how to step into that opportunity, because it is good for us, it's helpful for us, and it's beneficial for our overall growth. So thank you all for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Press the subscribe button. I feel like it's going to be on this side. I'm not really sure. The like button on this side. They could be opposite. I'm not sure. I don't know. But anyways, like I said, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time.